Hello again. Thank you so much for watching. Today, we'll be discussing a few cold calling pro tips and the 5 steps to that conversation and why you should be looking like this at the end of your cold call. But before we get started, if you please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and the notification bell does help me a lot in those YouTube algorithms. And then also, if you haven't checked out our Patreon account, a lot of great content there to help our commercial loan brokers do what they do best. Let's jump right into it. So when it comes to cold calling, there's really 5 steps to the conversation. So we're just going to go through each of those 5 steps and what you should be doing. It's very simple. You might laugh on how simple it is, but sometimes it helps just to kind of get an outline of what you should be doing just to get on the phones and just make it happen. So anyways, the first step is the introduction. So on any introduction, you're always going to explain who are you. You're going to introduce yourself and what you do. If you don't explain who you are and what you do, then the person's not going to have any context to the conversation. Why are you even talking to them? So it doesn't matter who you're calling. It doesn't matter what kind of people you're calling for whatever reason. You're always going to need to introduce who you are and what you do. So in our example, what I would say is, hey, my name's John Newford. I'm a commercial loan broker. That's it. It's as simple as that. That's the introduction, just a one-liner, just to kind of explain who you are. Now, while you're doing this, if there's any option to create a personal relationship, I call it CPR. It's the CPR of sales. Always create a personal relationship. So if there's any opportunity to create a personal relationship, like if you guys didn't hear each other properly, or you couldn't pronounce the first name or last name properly, just create a laugh. That allows you to create that personal relationship, and it allows the person you're selling to have empathy towards you, which creates that personal relationship. So always throughout this cold call, you need to be doing your CPR, creating personal relationship. But let's jump on to the next step. Very simple. You have your short story. So you explained who you are, you explained what you do for a living, and now you need to explain why are you calling. So normally I would say something like this. Well, I'm calling because I'm a commercial loan broker. I'm interested in networking with more real estate investors and seeing if I can get them better funding options. So that's one of the ways that I would explain why I'm calling. Just a simple, very easy, like something that someone couldn't really say no about. Look, I'm just looking to network with real estate investors. Pretty simple. Nobody's going to have a problem with that. And then why should they be listening to you? The statement I just used was, well, I'm networking with real estate investors. I'm a commercial loan broker. So, I'd like to see if I could get better financing for people out there. So, or give you better options, whatever it is. So that's the second step. It's just doing the short story. And again, focus on CPR. Never forget to create the personal relationship while you're talking. You don't want to be a cold stone wall just reading a script. You need to be something that's relatable. And in order to be something relatable, you need to have humility, and you need to be having that back and forth, creating that personal relationship. And when you're doing CPR, you're pressing on someone's chest, right? It's the same thing here. You need to make contact, physical contact somehow. And when you're on the phone, that contact's going to be happening through that emotional standpoint. You need to have emotions. You need to show, create a personal relationship. Now, step 3, so we go back to the last step. Why should they be listening to you? And then it's easy for someone to say no right away when you explain, oh, well, I'm trying to see if I can get you a better deal, right? And then they say no. Immediately, you want to follow up by asking questions. So who are you using for money? Hey, I'm calling a network. I do commercial loans. Who do you use for money right now? So this opens the conversation up, and this actually allows you to create that CPR I've been talking about, because you're asking questions. Now there can be a nice, easy conversation, a back and forth. The toughest part is just getting through the intro, and the best way to get through an intro is to ask a question. So step 3 is discovery, asking your questions. Who are you using your money for? These are just examples of questions you could be asking. Do you have any notes maturing soon? Do you use bank financing, or do you use hard money? Or do you use your own money when you're financing deals? Are you purchasing any properties recently? Are you purchasing any properties right now? So these are just follow-up questions, and this is where you get your discovery. This is where you create that relationship, and this is where you get the borrower interested, because when they start answering questions, and they can tell you're asking the right questions, they're going to start to be interested. They're going to start asking you questions. They're going to say, well, what can you do? What kind of rates can you offer? What kind of terms do you got? So this is the most exciting part of the conversation. Now, step 4 is just to close it. So let's say you had a good conversation, you've asked the questions. Finally, you need to collect information. If you're not collecting information on the borrower, how do you expect to do a follow-up conversation with them later on? Or how do you expect to even run a deal unless you got the information, the borrower's information? So you need to get the fun. You got to get their name. Hey, borrower, you know, it's a great conversation. Sounds like we got some business we can do. What's your name? What's your number? What's your email? You just need the basic contact information. And then finally, you got to have all the questions pertaining to the deal. So if they actually do have a deal, perfect. You need to be doing all those follow-up questions as well. What's the address of the property? What's your FICO score? You might as well just do a full-on consultation at this point if the person's interested. But if they're not quite interested yet, you always got to at least get their name, number, and email. To any conversation you have with anybody, you got to have a close. What's going to be your closing statement? And ultimately, you know, closing statement in this case is, hey, well, let me get your name and your number. I'll shoot you, and your email. I'll shoot you some information. We'll see if we can get a deal. Or if they have a deal, you just ask those questions. So anyways, you got to close it. That's the 4th step. And then finally, we got the last step. And I threw this picture up front, but ultimately it's just the rehash, guys. So if you've closed it, you're gonna look like this Superman right here. You're gonna have your elbow in the hoop. The step 5 is just the rehash. So once you get their information, just make sure you're following up. Otherwise, you'll have to cold call a second time. Just make that follow-up phone call and that follow-up email. Make sure it looks good. So anyways, I hope you guys took some value from this video. If you did, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell just like we already talked about. And also, if you haven't seen our Patreon account and you are a commercial mortgage broker, that's what we do here. We discuss commercial loan brokering and how to do it, the best ways to do it, sales stuff just like this. So a lot of great content in that Patreon account. So feel free to sign up if you haven't already done so too. So thank you so much. And we will see you in the next video. Talk soon. Bye.